to another episode of E&Ftv. Bridging the Gap, and today I'm joined by Arseniy Pushkin, hotel analyst from M&T. Arseniy, how are you?
Hi everyone. How are you guys? How are you, Jason?
Yeah, good, good. I love filming on a Friday. So much fun. It's got that Friday feeling about it, and looking forward to this chat. We chatted on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, really excited to learn about you, your career, and what you've been doing at M&T. But first, I have to subject you to five questions, five random questions, which puts you on the spot a little bit.
Let's do it.
And yeah, just to enable people to find out a little bit about the real arsenic. So, number one, what's your earliest memory?
Oh God, okay. Earliest memory. I think the earliest one is I grew up in a house, and there was like a long path from the entrance to the yard and the house, and I just remember walking it and looking around. I think that's the earliest one. I'm not gonna tell you what I saw around myself. I think I can recollect from the pictures, but like this is what I remember. I guess I gained conscious.
Similar to mine, actually. I remember being probably age three, standing at the back door with my mum, and I could hear the sound of the school in the distance. And I remember my
Oh
mum
wow.
saying, "You'll be going to school soon." And I was like, I didn't even know what school was. I was like, what is this loud thing called school? So similar kind of outside memory. What's your happy place?
Um, as of recent, it's parks. I love parks. It's
Yeah,
just yeah, unwind after work or early morning on the weekend. I live close to Victoria Park, and sometimes I just go there.
yeah,
And anything that a park, and anything that has a water, like a canal, or let's say a
yeah,
river with a bit of nature around it, that's my happy place.
yeah. And I can see why. I mean, I'm quite into running, but I was injured a month or so ago, and I've not been able to run for a while. But I've got quite into walking, not a long
Hmm.
way, but just as a halfway house between doing nothing and running. And I live across from a nice lake. It's about a mile and a half all the way around, but yeah, through the woods, body of water. There's something like soothing for the soul of being around nature. Do you think?
For sure. I mean, I grew up in a city where we had a river running kind of like not in between the city like in London. Thames is kind of more of a, I guess it used to be an industrial kind of river for
Yeah.
getting cargo in and out. But I grew up in a city that was like a river when the city on one side, so the other side is like green and little mountains out there. So having a river, I guess the flow of the river is kind of calming, but also the
Yeah.
scenery when it's like it's blue and there's green in the background, it's just calms you down. And like you said,
Yeah.
I'm not much of a runner, but I like walking, and I feel like walk every day after work, before work, lunchtime, just calms everything down.
Yeah. I think as humans, we're meant to be outdoor. I mean, this is not natural. Well, not being on a podcast is definitely not natural, but not natural sitting at a desk all day. When you think of the history and the passing of time over thousands of years, it's only in the last 1% of time, really, that people have done what you and I do and just sat at a desk all day. We should be
Yeah,
outside experiencing nature. And I think if you've got a desk job, you should maybe make time before work, after work to get out and on a weekend and do exactly what we've discussed.
that's something I picked
Um,
up starting a desk job, because I mean we can get to it later, but that was a big transition from uni, doing internships, doing part time in hotels operationally, moving back to the back office, or let's say corporate office, and that is just all about sitting, looking at the computer,
yeah,
doing your job
yeah,
that way. Very different dynamics. So you kind of teach yourself
yeah.
to walk before, take breaks. It's just you'll figure it out, but like it's an adjustment for sure.
Brain work as opposed to physical work, isn't it? And all the ops guys just think you're lazy. You're one of those office staff. Just sit on your bum all day doing nothing.
Yeah.
What's your what's your biggest addiction?
Uh, Biggest addiction. I love beers. I know it might sound pretty bad, but I like going for pints. So I would say that's my biggest addiction problem.
Okay, are you a morning person or an evening person?
Um, More of an evening one, but I'm trying to become a morning person. It's a tough work.
Yeah, well, you love beer, so you're going to be an evening person, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Here's an interesting one. When did you first feel like an adult?
Um, Great question. Um, I would say when I was 18, my parents sent me to study in the United States, and I arrived. It was in Colorado State, and I arrived there in Denver, and I took on a bus. It was a shuttle bus for about an hour to get to Fort Collins, this little city in the middle of the state. And on that bus, I was like, okay, it's just me now. I guess I gotta take care of build my own life here. And that was the moment. I think I might have had another stepping stones after that, but I think that was the first kind of like glimpse of you on your own.
So all safety net removed, I guess, and you were just left to,
Yeah,
yeah, forge your
and
life.
I think the having family kind of like distant from you, not having them around, time zone difference. That's like okay, it's just whatever comes your way, you have to deal with it on your own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see why that leaving home, not just leaving home, but to a foreign country would be a pivotal moment and one that you would describe as being, becoming an adult.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get cracking then. Tell us about how you got to where you are at the minute from your home country, coming to the UK and all that. Give us a bit of a rundown.
Um, I'll start just before I came to Oxford Brookes. Because I mean, my first like up until I was 22, let's say I was trying to play basketball as a career, and once that was behind me, I started working hospitality straight away. It was my dad's his entrepreneur, and he built let's say development that was supposed to be for sale, but it kind of turned into a hotel. First renting long term, then short term, and it kind of became a gateway hotel for the city. And I started working there. It was about 3 years span. Very like a small business which grew, and you exposed to a lot of different things at once. And I realized I really don't understand much about hospitality or the hotel business. And me and my dad sat down. It was during COVID. Life kind of frozen at that point, and why not go study? And UK, I think, is one of the best countries in the world for education, so that was an easy choice. And Oxford Brookes was one of the top choices as well, and which I got in, and that's how my journey started in here. Actually, learning hospitality the proper way, with very limited, but with some hospitality background, but very limited, like I say, corporate or organized hospitality. Um, so it was during COVID time, so the first year was a bit rocky. You know, a lot of Zoom like we do now. Um, and my second and third year, I moved to Oxford, which is honestly one of my favorite cities by now. And it was a whole learning experience from there on. Uh, Obviously, the new country, um, the classes, the material you get, and then just trying to get a career out of it. So yeah, that's how I get to it. And I mean, I can talk about uni for a long time, but like if you have, oh, actually, sorry, just gonna continue how I get to MNT, but kind of fast forward to through uni time because I guess
Yeah.
we can come back to it in more detail. So once I passed uni, graduation took me a bit of time to get into to find a job, which was I thought it was going to be a much quicker process, but I say from finishing my classes in May up until let's say January, that was the process of landing the actual position. And since then, it was another learning curve to what you've been taught to uni and what happens at a desk job at MNT. Another, I've been there for over a year and a half. And to this, still to this day, there's a lot of new stuff coming in. And you kind of look for ways to either improve, learn new stuff, or even try to implement stuff that you've learned to what you do day to day.
So you had going back to where are you from?
From Russia.
Okay, going back to those days in Russia, you're inspired by your dad's business in hospitality primarily.
Yep.
And so your exposure at an early age was ops related.
It was more, well, it was everything. So I would take
Okay.
calls, I would greet guests. Then I would move on to do a bit of marketing, trying to lure guests in, trying to set the prices. Obviously, know nothing about how the revenue management works, but just like kind of working on a hinge. Then I moved to more of a development of when the kind of the we kind of started growing a bit bigger. We said get an administrator, we got a receptionist, we got a couple of cleaners, and etc. I started looking more at building new properties, trying to grow the business from a development perspective.
Okay. And a love of hospitality was born from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the business that brings people joy are the
Yeah.
guests that come. I mean, I thought about it a couple of times. I was like, this is just it's what it's about. You do day to day work. It can get mundane. It can get a bit repetitive. But like in the end, it's people coming to your hotel. They enjoy their life, and it's just making their life, which we what we learn in Oxford Brookes. Taking a holiday is making your life better.
Yeah,
So
it's a lovely way of looking at it.
yeah.
So take us through Oxford Brookes and what was your experience of Oxford Brookes and how did it shape the man that you are today?
Hmm. Okay. Um. I mean, coming to Oxford Brookes, I really had very limited idea of what I want to do after uni. Um, so I was just trying to soak in what I get day to day in terms of like the knowledge that I was given, and I hope that over the course of that time I'll actually get an idea what I'm trying to do. And so I've tried to pitch in a startup during my time in Brooks. I was like the president of the basketball club, trying to boost my leadership skills. So I've done all that on top of like doing day to day classes and doing fairly well at it. I think what is shaped um, is just knowing what you want to do and take consecutive steps towards your goal. So when you figure out what you want to do, and midway, let's say second year, I was like, I want to learn about businesses because one day I hope to have a business. So I was like, maybe consultancy is what I should be going towards because you get exposed to different projects. And that's at the point where I started thinking about it. Obviously, there's a lot of distractions. Like I said, you're trying to do this and that, but like that was the main idea. And by the end of the uni, I think I got there and I successfully got a job. So pretty fortunate.
Okay. So how did it shape your desire to get into analytics?
Analytics was pretty it came out of nowhere. So there was one class, one of the professors, and we had a guest speaker from STR, and he quite passionately talked about his craft, and he was talking about his team and how like we as a team here share a lot for classical music, and how that gets into our data analysis, how we kind of approach data. And I knew nothing about data at that point. If you would give me an STR set, it would take me a week to analyze it. Now it's gonna take me, I'd say, an hour. But like my exposure to data was very limited. But like him talking about it, finding ways of enjoying this numbers work, um, I thought about it and I was like, this is something I actually could do. I don't mind repetitive tasks, but at the same time, I want to enjoy it. And enjoyment comes from within. You kind of think about, oh, how can I be creative with it? And at that point, I started thinking about it, and I ended up being pretty much a data analyst. Yeah.
Go back to the classical music thing.
Go back to it.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about
Um, I mean, it's not from my personal experience. So the way I understood there is something about music because obviously it's written and
Yeah.
is there is a rhythm to it. There is, I mean, I feel like I'm very out of my element right now. But they kind of found the resemblance between doing data and figure out the reading the music, I guess, or like I don't know, but it struck me as of you can relate your day to day job to something as beautiful and as vast as classical music.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
So, as a symphony, you put the right things in the right place and it creates a symphony, whether that's cooking, classical music, or data.
it could be. Yeah, again, you put it better than me because you get this vast set of just different numbers. You know,
Yeah,
KPI
means nothing.
means nothing, and then you drill down and you actually get meaningful information from it. And I guess in that sense, you're kind of chopping away little bits by bits by bits, and you get to the point. You get to the you're
Symphony of
making the music.
numbers. I like it.
Yeah,
I think it's really interesting how you were inspired by a guest lecturer.
yeah.
And I think it's certainly something that we kind of advocate as a company that people get into universities and inspire because that one STR person came in, did a guest lecture for an hour, and you were left kind of profoundly moved by it. So much so that you can, recall the exact, the thing about the classical music and everything, and you've gone on to forge a career or forging a career in something, that you're inspired to do by that guest lecturer. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you do on a day-to-day basis for Michels and Taylor.
Um, so our team, the analytics team, so we the backhands of with the starting point of any project that would come in either to advisory side, asset management side, um, and we also exposed to the managed side, but less on day to day. So if any, let's say, consultancy advisory project comes in, there will be the data room, or it will just get data, or we're going to create a comp site, we're going to do market research. All that comes in to us. We collate
Yeah.
it, we present it, we visualize it where it's needed, put it in words where it's like market research, demand drivers, etc. And then that is passed on further where there's recommendations coming out of it from the consultants, and it kind of blends into the projects, the decisions. It kind of so it's really about just going through making sense of a vast amount of data information, make it presentable and readable.
Did you find upon starting at M&T that you had the necessary skills to do what you do now, or did you have to go away and learn different bits of tech or different analytical techniques?
So when I got hired, and like I said, it was a pretty long process. I had a bunch of interviews. I had a bunch of technical tasks I had to complete, and then we kind of, let's say, after my probation and 6 months into the job, I've chatted with my boss, and he said, "Well, you weren't really that technical when you started." And I think that was the main, because out of uni, you know the KPIs, you know how to calculate them, you understand the hotels a fair bit, not too much. I mean, because by then you've probably done a placement or an internship, part-time work. You know the front office, you probably know the back office a little bit, but it's the technical bits that you're missing. And it's because the work is mostly like, I mean, I kind of gave you a very vague answer of day to day, but day to day is mostly Excel. Day to day was mostly research, Excel, um, building formulas, trying to make sense of a lot of numbers and how you can organize them quickly, because obviously when that comes in, it's huge. Um, so I knew I had the foundation of hotel knowledge, but the technical knowledge just it wasn't there.
Okay. What kind of systems do you use on a day-to-day now that you kind of didn't have exposure to it at university that maybe would have helped you if you had? Is there anything Power BI, Tableau, Python? SQL? Is there anything that you could have done with a little bit more knowledge on?
Um, I mean, our uni gave us great foundation in terms of we
Yeah.
did Tableau, we did Excel. We didn't get into coding. We might have talked about SQL, but very briefly. But that SQL is a bit more advanced um, for university, I would say.
Okay.
Um, but I guess at that point, you don't really understand how much of your work will involve in those programs. So we
Yeah.
had one project in Excel, let's say, which really gave an understanding, but you just learn the skills for this task. So you learn these formulas that work for this task. But like day to day right now, you'll just have to have that knowledge. It got to be much bigger because you got to apply it. You just know when something comes in, you got to know how to reform it, how to pull this data from one side, collect it with another data. So um, I think it's hard to prepare at the uni level for the technicality that we'll use a day-to-day job.
Yeah.
But given that
Yeah.
the uni gave an idea, it's much more deeper at the work level.
What do you think that it's interesting that your boss said that when you started at M&T, you weren't that technical. What do you think they saw in you? What's your opinion on that? What did they see in you if it wasn't technical skills to employ you?
Um, I should have asked that question actually. Like that, like you asked me, I should have asked that question as well. Like, what did you actually see in me? But being there for a year and a half and talking about on numerous occasions about like how we started, how we progressed over that time. My boss once mentioned that when I did my first technical exam, even though he wasn't impressed by my Excel skills, there was a quick task where you had to look at the hotel and write recommendations. And I chose to propose a hotel that would have a gaming facility to attract younger tourists. And they could be like in your room, you have a proper PC for gaming. I'm not even a gamer. I thought just why not? And he said just a creative approach, just something, just not a traditional thinking, just kind of stood out from the rest, I suppose. Plus, my CV was really good. I mean, I've had a first at uni, Dean's List Awards, a bunch of leadership positions at university. I guess that helped as well. But probably that one, trying to be creative, is what stood out in the process.
Was that part of the interview process then?
Yes, it was the stage two. I mean, stage three, it depends how you count. So first is CV, a quick call, then technical task, and
Yeah.
then interview in the office.
Brilliant. So, I mean, it just goes to show, I suppose, how much soft skills are important at interview, almost as much as kind of like the technical skills, because they obviously employed you knowing that you had some way to go in terms of learning the technicalities, but you obviously impressed them with those soft skills, and also your creative approach in that task that you were presented with as well.
Yeah, that's how I think. But now I will ask that question, so I actually know the answer because that would be interesting.
Brilliant. So, where next for you then? Where do you see your career going from here? Not that I'm trying to suggest that you leave M&T because you're obviously doing well and learning, but if you look forward 10 or 20 years, staying within analytics, or is this a springboard for something else? GM, Director of Revenue?
Great question. I mean, a very optimistic um, way of looking into the future. It would be um, trying to set up a business within the hospitality sphere because I've pitched a business at university before, and it's a travel solution that I've been thinking about for ages now. Because that would be the most optimistic. Because I feel like you go through life, you acquire the knowledge. One day, it would make sense to put it to the use of creating something on your own or with co-founders or etc. But in the more short-term perspective, I think there is a lot of upside in analytics because I feel like more and more hotels look into data to improve their data operations. And plus, there's a big part of it is AI coming in, and I feel like, what if what if that's going to take us to the next level? Because right now, analytics is perceived as a win and back of a business, and it is true. But like, I feel like with the new tools coming in, we can make much more difference, and very positive difference. So I would probably say, depending how it goes within the progress and my skills in terms of implementing new solutions, I would be willing to stay in analytics for another 2 to 3 years, and then probably see where it takes me after that.
You obviously got your eye on eventually owning your own business. And interesting that you say hospitality business rather than a hotel. Difficult question for you to answer, but what do you kind of how do you see that unraveling? What kind of hospitality business would it interest you to own?
I mean, it's the same one. Like I mentioned a couple of times, I pitched it in uni, and I even got an award at the first stage. It was like £500 to gain initial traction, I guess. And then in the latter stage, it was I kind of lost in the scope of it. But the idea behind it is, there is a growing demand for experiences within a hotel. So a lot of guests, they perceive hotels to be more than just a room,
Yeah.
because you want to come in there and you want to have something to do. And my idea was, I want to build a travel agency that would cater for guests that want to do something in a hotel, and would categorize it by, let's say, the hobby. If you want to do, I don't know, bird watching, that would be the hotels that acquire to your interests. If you're doing a yoga, these are the hotels. So it's, and etc. for golf, swimming, etc. and etc. And that would make it kind of refine the search for the hotel based on your needs, based on your hobbies, your activities. That was the main idea, and it's a bit of a bigger project, but I hope one day I can get to it.
I always find it fascinating how the industry evolves over time. And you're quite right. More and more hotels and hospitality businesses have seen the value of packaging, and you've seen Airbnb with the kind of neighborhood thing, seen the
Yeah,
Hoxton lifestyle led, adding more things on. But then there's the other kind of there's the bundling and unbundling, isn't there, of products? You look at companies that say like Zedwell, the Zedwell brand,
yeah,
Criterion Zedwell brand, which is the opposite, which is minimalist, no distractions, um, almost like a Zen-like sort of quality where it's just you and the room. You've got the room, you've got the wet room, but no TV, no window. It's just soundproofed. It kind of is what it is, and that's booming, that kind of concept at the minute. So I always think the hardest place to compete is like the mid-scale ones, because almost things hollow out, and you've got to move towards simplicity and value, and then a move towards different things that are happening at the other end of the market. And if you're just kind of like a mid-scale property in the middle of the road, you're in the part of the industry that's kind of hollowing out. But that's a
yeah,
whole different episode, I
yeah.
suppose.
It's
Be nice
interesting.
for you to, sorry, go on.
It's
There you
interesting that
go.
I've heard that kind of opinion before, that the mid scale segment kind of gets lost in between. Also from a profit perspective, because the Zadwell business idea is so profitable, and
Yeah,
it's a new design, good looking rooms, but they also, it's a very low cost base, let's say, but at the same time they charge really good rates. So it kind of all goes to the bottom line, which is a great business, and I would see them building more and more of those. And then obviously, like I said, the more luxury, upscale properties, where you can give us, I guess, an experience and get a lot of extra revenue from it. Also a great idea. But like the middle ones, yeah, they kind of have to figure out what's happening there. But that's very very high level view, and one I've
yeah.
heard before from you.
What's Yeah, it's what's the USP for them, isn't it, really? You touched on AI. Give us some predictions about AI. Got half the world saying it's going to take jobs, and certainly at entry level in revenue management, revenue analyst, commercial analyst. Is that a possibility? Will that job be no more in 10 years' time because AI's taken that away? Or what's your views on it?
I would want to believe that it's not going to take away the human being, the individual that kind of knows how to use it to its benefit. So I think you still have to write prompts, you still have to implement, you still have to, I guess, in a way, take care of it and proof check it as well, because we all know how sometimes it spills out some information that is just not accurate. But at the same time, a short answer I would give is, if you want your career to progress, you'll just have to have a understanding of what AI is, how to use it, and be comfortable with it. And this is
Yeah,
something I've read from one of the there's a person, Paul Graham from YC Combinator, and he said, if you within the next 10 years and so on, like, you have to have AI as your skill on your side.
yeah, sage advice. And just leave us, Arseniy, with a few of your top tips for students graduating that may want to emulate you and forge your career in hospitality analytics?
What would be my advice?
Yeah, what's your advice for people like you a couple of years ago who are graduating and wanting to get into hospitality analytics?
hmm I mean, first is, okay. We take a scenario when the person knows he wants to be, let's say, in the analytics sphere, because, like I said before, a lot of the time at uni, you kind of go with the flow. Um, it's it the a lot of the knowledge that you're given is very operational, very management oriented, and less so towards analytics, revenue management, etc. So if you know it, take all that you can. If you know that's your path and that's what you like, take all that you can from those courses that give you the actual usable knowledge to take with you. Um, and I would say learn the technical aspect of it. Uh, no one, I guess, no one wants to use Excel, but it's your friends. So just be well versed in it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I heard and it struck me. Somebody once described Excel as being a bit like Latin. Like you may have learnt Latin at school, you never use it again, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's almost a framework to learn other sort of languages, and that's very true about Excel as well. That even if it dies out, you'll still probably always appreciate having that basal kind of knowledge in Excel that may, elevate you to learn other things as well.
It's a great starting point because it makes you understand the basic logic of the way computer understands
Yeah,
you, because it's still a language, even though it's put in a pretty neat user interface. But then from Excel, you go to VBA, you go to SQL, and that takes you to a new level.
yeah, absolutely. Arsene, thanks so much for joining me. I'm sure what you've said, we could talk for hours, couldn't we, about this? It's so interesting, but I'm sure what you've said will resonate with a lot of people and be a big value to students watching, certainly that want to emulate you and get into analytics.
I sure hope so. Um, After I graduated uni, I've had a lot of help from my professors, from the alumni that reached out to kind of help me, because again, you are after uni, you're out there and you have a very limited idea how to approach job search, starting a new job, changing career, etc. So I hope that can help some people who's going to watch it and also thinking about analytics or consultancy. And if they want to reach out, being from Oxford Brookes, being other unis, I would be very glad to help.
Yeah, so best place to reach out, LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure. Or just my email. I mean, if it's all on LinkedIn, to be fair. So yeah, LinkedIn's probably the easiest.
Brilliant. Arsene, let you get back to work. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And that's all we've got time for this week. Like and share the show because it helps us attract cool guests like Arseniy Pushkin. See you next week.
Here we go.